Yeah, yeah. What's up? Welcome to this fine Monday edition of BS with Hannas. That's me. This is Good Morning Hannas. It's my little morning YouTube talk show. I'll come out here and just talk a little bit. The whole premise of this is I wake up on any given fine morning, typically, hopefully, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays or so, and I have myself a fine little morning, man. I take a nice walk. I read some good stuff. I come out here. I talk to the people. When I'm done here, I'm gonna go lift some weights. I go to work, go about my business. Lends itself to a pretty nice day. By the time I get to work, I've already won a bunch of times through the day. Today is Monday, so it's a glorious chest day. Yeah, man, all is good. I make music. You just heard a little bit. NikkiBehinas.com. Heavy blues metal. And as far as what I'm thinking about today, man, I'm just chilling, dude. I'm a little late, a little later than I want to be. It'll be a little shorter than I'd like it to be today, but that's okay. Went nice and long yesterday. My man EMP came out. That's my fucking homie. One of my day one fucking best friends in the world, dude. He came out. We did a Sunday session. Sunday sesh. You can find that on here. We mostly just hung out, shot the shit, talked about mostly fitness. He's a personal trainer. We're both lifting enthusiasts, even if we have a wildly different approach to it. Maybe not wildly. Maybe not a wildly different approach. And I'm pretty sure his bench smokes mine. So it's all good, man. It was a great fucking session. Great just talking about that shit. I wonder sometimes if it was a little redundant. Like, how much can you just talk about this thing that you love? Well, as it turns out, if you love something, you can talk about it pretty much endlessly. Get me started about fucking the blues. Get me started about Metallica. Get me started about lifting. Get me started about reading. Shit, I'll fucking go on and on and on and on. And that's a good thing, man. And, if we're going to go on and ramble and rant and rave about things, it ought to be things that are good. And if we can get to the point where we love things that are good, we're doing all right. We're doing all right out here, man. And it was a good time. It was a good time. So I'm looking forward. Get up in that gym today. I got some renewed vigor. Maybe I'll take some rest periods and not just exhaust myself, but that remains to be seen. Yeah, we hung out for a little bit afterwards and we're just shooting the shit, talking. Got me thinking about vision. I've said on here a bunch of times, here and there, I like the new age stuff, which all has to deal with manifesting, visualizing, making things real, There's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of synchronicity. It's not a cult. I mean, there's an occult element to it. I don't fuck with the occult. That shit's evil. Stay away from occult things and magic and witchcraft and fucking, I think that shit's bad, man. It's no good. No good. It's all right to be a little fascinated and interested by it because how can you not be? But to actually do that stuff, I don't know. But as the more I read about, manifesting and The Secret, as it was really made popular, the book by Rhonda Byrne, it's very intuitive. It's very intuitive and it's pretty real. And there's like layers to it that I think are super interesting. Um, I've read a bunch of those kinds of books. As a Man Thinketh is up in that same category. My first real exposure to that world of thinking was probably the first time I attempted to read Think and Grow Rich, because it starts with thinking. You have to plant the seed in your brain. That lends itself to orienting yourself towards this vision, and that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty straightforward. It's what we hear growing up. You can do anything you set your mind to. Dream big. Aim for this. Shoot for the stars, even if you miss or whatever. All that shit. So it's built into us, and it's like a real thing. But then there's volumes of literature about it, and as with anything where there's volumes of literature about a certain subject, you just get different people's takes on it. You get different people's arguments. You get different people's opinions and rationalities and research and so on and so forth. And I think it's awesome. It's helped me a lot. I wasn't into it until I got sober. So that I chalked that up to be a coincidence, AKA a synchronicity, where now that my signal, my antenna, my fucking whatever part of me that is connected with all the bigger things than just myself, it's open to receiving these frequencies now. And that's what it is. You know, these fools, not even that they're not fools, but these cats, it's all they say. It's all about um, vibration and frequency, and whatever frequency you're on is what will attract, and that lends itself to the metaphor of us as people being like radio signals. Radio signals and radio waves are out there, but whatever you tune your antenna to is what's going to be received. And that seems to be a very poignant metaphor or allegory, whichever one, whatever we are. And it got me thinking, so me and my man was talking about, visions that I have and things we're working on and where it's all going. There's a lot to be said for just doing reps, just doing reps, just doing reps. And this is where the gym is the best metaphor for almost everything. You know, you got to show up to whatever it is. You got to do the thing. I don't know that it's feasible or wise to expect to manifest, let's just say, great riches without doing anything in the action realm to actually obtain great riches. That doesn't seem to make any sense. That you don't, you might as well just be buying scratch off lottery tickets. You have to do the thing, but you have to do it with intent. And it's easy. And that's easy. Like that seems to be the gist of it all. Do the thing to get you to what you want with deliberate, intentional pursuit and action. It stands to reason. I guess the rub is that we're all goofy, stupid humans. And sometimes we do goofy, stupid human things which get us off that track and it misaligns us. So then we're doing things out of alignment with the frequency to which we are pursuing. This is how I understand it, at least. So we want to stay in alignment and we want to do things continually to dial in that alignment to get a clearer signal. And I think at my point in my life, I mean, that's about as much as we can do. That's about as much as I've found to be the secret of all things. And if you keep showing up and doing the reps with intentionality, you'll get closer. It's the great metaphor of the bench press. At first you can't even pick the bar up because maybe it's too heavy for you. Maybe it's rough on your hands. Maybe it's just an unnatural motion. Maybe you can't balance it, whatever. But at first you can't even move the bar. It falls to the left, it falls to the right. You got to find that balance. And then you start putting more weight on there. You start putting more resistance on there. And you can slowly tolerate more weight and resistance. And you can become the master of that weight and resistance. And you start to get results from the intentional action pursued, and pursued. That seems to apply to everything, man. You want to play guitar, you got to first, you got to learn you got to find one. You have to obtain one. You have to get familiar with it. You have to know what string is what the frets are, where you put your finger on the fret, how to hold a pick if you're using a pick. If you're not using a pick, you got to learn how to use your fingers and coordinate them and have that mind-muscle connection on what your strumming hand is doing while simultaneously having what your fretting hand is doing. A piano, I'm not much of a pianist at all. If I can find my middle C, I can play something. But even then, it's like, what's a middle C? Most cats don't have any. No, but if you want to be a pianist, if you want to be a piano player, it stands to reason. That's the first thing you got to do. And then you keep working, you keep working, you keep working. But it all has to be intent. Much of my life, I've lived unintentfully, with the exception of playing guitar and writing songs and making music. That was pretty much the only things I've ever been. This is what I want to do. There was always nothing but intent. Damn, I keep fucking coughing and dropping shit. Not right. That's not right. But anyway, as I've only ever really focused my energies and my pursuits into being a front man and being in a band and writing songs and being this, 20 years into the fact, like I am that. And still, I pause every now and then and I'm like, holy shit, like this is surreal. It was a dream to a young boy once upon a time. And maybe I'm not at the heights of achievement. Maybe I'm not at the heights of renown or glory or fame or whatever, but that doesn't stop the fact that, that is what I am. And it's something that once upon a time, a seed was planted and tended to and cultivated. And what that seed begot is where I'm at. I'm finding that was at the expense of many other things. And there was a tremendous amount of misalignment just by proximity which may or may not have veered me off path for a long time. So there's a lot of course correction going on. But since I got sober, and now it's all about course correction, it's all about redefinement, it's all about realignment, and then relentless pursuit of those things. Part of that comes with the vision. And it's a fucking awesome thing, man. And it's very intimate. Just hanging out in my kitchen, talking with my homeboy who understands and gets it, you know? But it's like, yeah, this is what I want. This is like my deepest desire. This is what I think would be awesome. I'm still at that point where I don't know, I guess, what was he saying? He was saying shades of degrees of imposter syndrome almost. Because I'm like looking for validation almost. I'm like, does this make sense? Do you get it? Like, is that crazy? Am I wrong? And really, that's like a big hill to get over. You should just be able to say, this is what the fuck I want. I'm going to do it. Let's go. Right? It's very interesting. And to me, it just shows growth. It just shows growth. And that's what the whole fucking point of this is, man. That's why I wake up and take a nice walk and I ponder, walk around the suburbs. It was cold as shit today. It's almost Thanksgiving, which means it's almost Christmas, which means it's cold, but it's a beautiful time of year. It's a beautiful time of year. And it hits me. It makes me contemplative. It makes me reflective. Many seasons of my life, it was a very negative, somber type of thing, you know? Not quite mourning all the time, but something like that. There's a word. I can't think of what the word is. Ruminous. It was in many times of my life, it's been a very ruminous, where I would ruminate. And that comes with a negative disposition. This is what I'm finding, thank you to sobriety and spending a lot of motherfucking time in the gym, you know, I'm no longer in that negative kind of sadly tinged mode of thought. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Trying to do what I can to be intentional. And even then, trying to be intentional, motherfucker, just be intentional. Do or do not. There is no try. Thank you, Yoda. Thank you to all these cliches that exist out there, you know? But it's kind of uncomfortable, you know? It's telling somebody what you really want above all things. To tell about yourself. A lot of people, I think, lie about that, you know, for fear of being judged based on what they want. And who knows what informs what they want and why they want it, you know? I think we all want a lot of fucking money. I think we all want an abundance and, dare I say, excess of money, but a lot of people won't even come clean to that. A lot of people, it's marred by this negative reputation. You know, what do you want a lot of money for? Wow, how greedy. Wow, how selfish. That's a thing that I think is given to us to make us be underachievers collectively through society. It makes us be okay and content and happy with what the fuck they give us. And it mars the potential for achievement, which is where it comes back to this. To me, at least in my experience, past couple of years, it's when it comes back to reading about all this manifesting and new age and visualization, and that shit's awesome. In fact, it makes me want to point this out. This is I got this book. This is the complete Wallace D. Wattles. And there's two quotes from here that I want to get. I gotta find the first one. Wallace Wattles. This is a book of just all his stuff. The complete Wallace D. Wattles, but this is from The Science of Getting Rich. He says in here, in The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, the purpose of nature is the advancement and unfoldment of life, and everyone should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. To be content with less is sinful. Oh, yeah. First time I heard that, I'm like, that stands to reason. The purpose of nature is the advancement and unfoldment of life. Sounds right. He goes on to say, the person who owns all he wants for the living of all the life he is capable of living is rich. Yeah. How can you argue with that? That stuck with me. And it's still sticking with me. We should want more. We are called to do more and to achieve and do bigger things than probably what the fuck we're doing. The person who owns all he wants for the living of all the life he is capable of is living is rich. I like that, man. I like that a lot. That was always a quote that stuck with me. Really changed how I started approaching things. Maybe not feel guilty about wanting to be in business and make more money than I'm making, and so on and so forth. That comes with a lot of duty and responsibility and obligations, and you know, the study of philosophy in my mind. You want to be righteous in doing those things. You sure don't want to be sleazy in doing those things. But as I was talking with my dude yesterday, this is another quote from Wallace that always stuck with me. He says, "It should be the work of your leisure hours to use your imagination on the details of your vision and to contemplate them until they are firmly fixed upon memory." Yeah, man. Contemplate that vision in your leisure hours until it's committed to memory. Imprint the subconscious, as some of these other guys say. I got my whole stash of little manifesting books over here. That's what I'm thinking about this fine Monday morning. That is what I'm thinking about this fine Monday morning, but I've talked long enough. It's time to go crush a chest workout. Monday, International Chest Day. Thank you for hanging out on this fine Monday morning with me, Nikki B. Hannas, here on my YouTube channel at BS with B. Hannas. Good morning, B. Hannas. Onwards we go. You can find my music. Well, first and foremost, you can find this on YouTube at at BS with B. Hannas. It goes out to Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Amazon Podcast, so on and so forth. You can find my music, heavy blues metal. That's what I affectionately call it. 12-bar blues in the style of heavy metal. NikkiBHannas.com, NikkiBHannas.bandcamp.com, Nikki B. Hannas on all streaming services. I write a little bit of writing. I'm out of practice. I gotta reinvent my habits for that, because habits dictate everything is what I'm learning also. NikkiBHannas.substack.com. Got more music on YouTube at my other channel at Nikki B. Hannas. Live music, a couple music videos, backing track, jam along series. It's a lot of fun, man. I fucking love playing my guitar. Everything that I do creatively is consolidated on one single feed at patreon.com/Nikki B. Hannas. There's a couple options to support the mission if you're inclined. Yeah, that's what I got. Happy Monday. Keep it real. One motherfucking love. I am actually still working on my profanity stylistic thing. For now, I digress. Keep it real. Happy Monday. I done wrong. Peace.